I am increasingly quite critical of the slow pace of evolution in the philanthropic realm, because despite years of rhetoric around philanthropic impact, very few foundations have moved beyond, say, token ESG funds or routine outsourcing to third-party managers. And as a result, philanthropy's role in the emerging impact economy has been, to me, disappointingly slow. And some would argue that it's increasingly, given the need to move toward an impact economy, that its relevance is being questioned. In your view, and feel free to push back in any way you want here, has philanthropy, at least in its current form, already lost its relevance as a true catalyst for early stage impact enterprises in particular? Or can it still play a transformative role? I think you're going to argue that it can. If so, what are the biggest barriers preventing foundations and institutions from going all in on a comprehensive mission-aligned investment strategy?
Yes. Well, I am going to come out as a staunch supporter that philanthropy can play a huge role and has played a role and will continue to play a role. You're not wrong in the time it has taken and the bureaucracies that exist within the philanthropic sector. But I have hope. So I'm going to come at it from that angle. And I take any pushback you want to give me. So, from the start, there's a substantial amount of capital sitting in private foundations that could be mobilized towards sustainable investing. We know this. We know that in the US alone, foundations hold over $1 trillion in assets. Most of these assets are invested traditionally, which means there's a large untapped potential for funding sustainable, impact-driven, or what did you say, early stage entrepreneurs that align with foundations' charitable missions. But we know that most foundations are leaving that money on the table. And our call, we do a lot of field building in our work, and our call is a call of action that more folks need to walk the walk by allocating all, would be the ask, or at least a significant portion of their corpus to impact. We know that foundations are often the first movers in capital innovation. They can de-risk markets, they can scale innovation, they can, we can get into all those pieces of why they're better poised to really kind of move this needle. But we've got to get off the sidelines. We've got to stop just pushing out 5%. We've got to start moving the 95%. I think I would like to tell a little bit more of the barriers kind of through our journey of aligning our mission to 100%. I think a big barrier to the space in the last couple of years has been this narrative around ESG. I think we've truly lost the narrative there. And either the space needs to have a reckoning or maybe a rebranding, because I think most people would say that ESG is simply table stakes at this point. It's embedded in most of our investing practices. And as we know, all investing has an impact, either positive or negative. And it's our imperative, and I guess I say the impact investing, or what did you call it? The impact economy, or the philanthropic sector. It's our imperative to move capital into the positive solution-oriented investing. I guess one example I'll share, on the ESG front, whether it's good or bad or whatever, it is what it is. We've had, in our early stages of investing, we've had several really important markers from ESG analysts. That's, one example is one of our ESG funds flagged Boeing as a high risk early on, flagging that the company was putting profit over passenger, safety, profits over safety, and among a number of other issues. And for us, that was flagged well before the 737 crashes. So I say there's a broad spectrum here, but my rooting for the philanthropic sector and the importance that they play in this role, I think is key to success.
You mentioned the possibility of rebranding of things like ESG might be in order. I'm wondering, not only was the increasingly fierce pushback on ESG, as well as, of course, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, happening before the election and the change of administration. Now it's becoming extremely fierce with all these executive orders and things happening. My kind of follow-up question then is, has Sorensen been thinking about rebranding? Has it been doing rebranding? How is it responding to these attacks, assuming that you haven't changed your mission, or you're not watering down your mission, you're still very focused on social environmental impact. How are you thinking about this? How are you responding to it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've been dealing with this battle, I would say, for the past 3 or so years in earnest, as you know. And, for Sorensen and those that are sort of deeply committed to thematic impact investing, the early call and answer was, it was very easy to separate us from the ESG movement. But we realized that wasn't serving those folks on the sidelines in any way, shape, or form. And so we talk about ESG differently. We don't use those terms anymore. And maybe we never should have in the beginning, because again, we think about our investing practices differently. And there is a difference, as we know, the spectrum between ESG and deep thematic investing. And so, yes, I mean, I think for the sake of the space, it was important to think about how we talk about impact investing differently and how that aligns with ESG. And so we don't use that term anymore. And we also are often urging people to think down the spectrum of investing all the way to the thematic side. And so we kind of quickly move through that argument.